Okay, here's a video on astrological gardening, and before I get into this, working with the cycles of nature astrologically with gardening is really beneficial. But I will say you have to learn how to garden too, if you really want to have a productive garden. Like, you can't just astrology your way through gardening. You can't just continue to plant tomatoes in the same spot every year. You can't plant certain plants next to other plants and expect them to flourish. Um, the idea of companion planting, and you can't have the wrong pH soil and expect a plant to flourish. You can't put a plant in the shade that needs sunlight and expect it to flourish. All those variables of gardening aside, the idea of working with nature and the astrological cycles is, it's ancient, and we've just gotten away from it. All the Farmer's Almanac stuff is also based on that idea. But to break it down simply, when the moon is waxing, it's a time to grow plants that fruit above ground or flower above ground. And when the moon is waning is when you want to grow things, root vegetables, things that, for lack of a better word, flower, or the vegetable that you're interested in grows in the ground under the earth. So beyond that, you also, each sign has an element, and air signs and fire signs tend not to be very good for planting. It's drying things out. You want moisture to plant, especially when you're putting seeds in. Those seeds need to stay moist for a few days in order, but not, there's a nurturing to those seeds in the early days, and the water signs seem to do the best at nurturing. And the earth signs are pretty good too. The exception to that is Virgo is not the greatest planting sign necessarily. And then the air and fire signs are also very non-nourishing signs, and not a great place to plant, except for Libra is a bit of the exception of that. Libra ruled by Venus. Vinus, so things that grow, things that have vines that grow tall or long and spread out, do typically pretty well. Flowers do really well planted in Libra. That's an air sign that is an exception. But otherwise, Cancer is ideal. Pisces is maybe second. Scorpio third. Maybe Taurus is third in there somewhere, and then into Capricorn. But the ideal planting is Sun in Taurus, Moon in Cancer in the spring. That's the ideal for especially above ground plants. Yeah, that's really the simple long and short of it. And then it's the opposite for harvesting. You want to harvest when the moon is waning, especially above ground crops. You want to harvest when the moon is waning and the moon is in a fire or a air sign. And especially root vegetables also tend to be really good to harvest when the moon's in especially an air sign. Helps dry them out and helps preserve them longer after they're harvested. Yeah, that's the long and short of gardening with astrology, and I highly recommend tinkering around and experimenting and seeing for yourself some side-by-side examples of plants that are grown in the exact same conditions as far as I was saying before, as far as soil and neighboring plants and the amount of sun. But plant one on a good day and plant one on a bad day. Try to find the best astrological day, that Sun in Taurus, Moon in Cancer, and then plant one when the moon is waning in, say Aquarius. See what happens, and watch astrology play out for yourself. Anyway, yeah, that's the intro. Take care, and I hope that helps you.